gonna do now?
Welcome to Beyond the Strange Explosion Network's Life is Strange After Show. Each episode of Life is Strange 2, we're gathering around to discuss what happens, talk about where the series could go next. It's not going anywhere now because this is the final episode. It's done. Life is Strange 2 is finished. Of course, the season finale episode was called Wolves because every episode, of course, the brothers are wolves and it opens with the whole wolf animation thing and wolves. Very good, everyone. So, overall thoughts, Nick? I'm
kind of shocked
wolves.
they went to a American Werewolf in London kind of thing. They turned into literal wolves.
Would have been a strange direction for it to go, but yeah.
No, I really enjoyed it. It's easily my favourite episode of this series. And I think it finishes up a lot stronger than any of the previous seasons have before.
I don't know. I feel like it's a hot take. I don't know. But I'll say this, put this out there. I feel like now that the season's wrapped up, I've seen people on Twitter like finally playing the game and stuff. And a lot of people have been like, oh, this is actually good. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know, like that could have been playing it ahead of time. You know, I'm sure it helps the devs. Anyway, I think this is better than the first game, in my opinion. Quality wise, I think I like this more. I think that I'll put it this way. I love the first season. I love those characters and everything, but it's just so much more like poppy and just it's easier to like. I find it hard to say because I'm like it tackles like, you know, suicide and rape and all sorts of really fucked up things. But at the same time, I just feel like it's more digestible and easy to like. Whereas the second season isn't as easy to like. And that's why I wrote up this like little article for the website about it. How I was like, I swear the reason that people aren't gravitating to this one as much is because the first game was like high school setting and girls and like there's like love, romance, all these things. And the second game is literally the entire game apart from one episode is it's about brothers on a journey and about racism and being good people and overcoming darkness and... You know,
I think, because like you said, I think season 1 is a lot more relatable for a lot more people, I guess. Yeah.
General audiences can understand, I guess, the core concepts a lot more than the second season. Yeah, but I love the finale. I don't know how much of your dislike or like could come down to the finale depending on like what ending you get, but like I was very happy with the ending I got, but then also I watched the YouTube video and I'm like, well, if I got any of these other endings, I would have had to have been playing like a horrible person. And if at that point, aren't you just happy you got that ending because you was playing like a dick the entire time anyway? So I don't know. Like I don't feel like I feel like you'd get the ending you deserved. I guess.
Well, I believe we both got the same ending, but I think, especially watching the other ones, I think the one that we got is like, I guess, the best one.
Quite on. Yeah. But what people are considering the best one, I think it is as well. It's
the most satisfying anyway.
Yeah, I was satisfied. I mean, we'll dive into it in a second. But I was like, really, how did we think this game was going to end?
I honestly had no idea, but
hopefully
quite happy with the ending.
That was great. Yeah. The last thing I'll say is that finishing this last episode and be like, this was great. I love this. Looking back at the entire season, the one thing I'm taking away, because of course on this show we kept being like, 3 months between episodes, this is kind of hard, I'm getting sick of it. Finishing this episode, I like that I had the space between each episode now. Seeing like the big picture, I appreciate the air I had to breathe and the time I had to digest each one and then come back to the characters, because I really don't feel like this season compared to the first one or some other Telltale games or whatever would be as good to binge play. I actually feel like this one is better with space between episodes.
I agree. They've done it in kind of like the right way. Like they had all this planned out to begin with, but each episode is a period of time afterwards, not picking up straight away. So it gives you that time to reacclimate with it, I guess. Yeah,
it's always like, there's like, while we've been away, the characters have been away and like stuff has been happening, and now you kind of jump back into it like a month or two down their time, like 3 months down our time, whatever, but close enough. But then there's also like a couple key moments in this game where I'm like, would these like little Easter eggy type things has worked for other people who binged it as well as me, who I'm like, I haven't seen that person mentioned for a year. Like,
I guess so, yeah.
So like just little things like that. Made me appreciate.
And for the people that were worried about the time, like, you have to be literally doing nothing else but playing Life is Strange and hanging out 3 months for the next episode. Because each time it come around, I was like, oh shit, that's out already?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
And if your like whole thing is like, oh, what if I forget what's happening? Each episode literally starts like a 5-minute
it's a recap,
recap thing. And they do a pretty good job of being like, did you forget something? And most of the time I wouldn't forget anything because like, I mean, the plot wasn't super hard to understand. It's like this happened. It was like, oh yeah, that happened, you know, like that kind of thing. But they went pretty in depth in those wolf things every single time. All right, let's get into it for the final time. Let's talk about all things that happened in this episode. So episode starts with Sean and Daniel waking up in I wrote down Arizona desert, but I guess it's like Arizona canyons, I guess. Is right?
Yeah, I guess so. It's part of the desert, I guess.
Yeah, like the proper terminology or whatever we're using here. So they wake up there, and it's obviously some time's passed because the last episode started with them all in the car taking off with Karen, their mum as well. Sean and Daniel have just camped out overnight. The two talk for a bit, and then they start heading home, wherever that happens to be. Not much happens here other than like one key. So the one choice thing here is that Daniel was told off about the scorpion and stopped messing with it, or he was told off but kept messing with it, or you didn't tell him off at all. I told him not to mess with it, and he did do what I said, and he stopped messing with it.
The same.
Yeah, it's like the one, I guess they start off the episode kind of teasing towards like, hey, this episode's gonna like, because this moment actually ties to the end moment where at the end, Daniel in different versions of the endings, even in the one we got, like I said to do something and he did something else on his own accord.
He's starting to make his own decisions, yeah.
And then like it kind of all ties back to the first decision in the game with like a scorpion, I guess, is how that all artistically wraps back around. So yeah, after you can sketch a picture here and do all these sorts of things or whatever. One thing I will say for this part, and you come back up here later at night as well, I enjoyed I thought it looked pretty. Like, not that Life is Strange is at all times pretty, because of like, especially when it comes to like character models, that's usually the most distracting
The environmental stuff is always really good.
Environmental stuff is where it's worked. Like even back to episode 1, it was like, oh, this forest stuff is pretty, and like this lake and all this sort of stuff has always worked well. So yeah, I was really enjoying it.
When it's got that painted kind of look to it.
Yeah, I don't know what the official terminology would be. Yeah. So after that, they get back to the camp, or head back to the camp, and here you can explore around the area where Sean and Daniel have been living for some time with their mother, Karen, of course. Inside her bus, you can find some pictures and notes that are hints of her past, including like a work badge or something, like pictures of notes from like friends and all these sorts of things. You can then go over to the computer and you can find an article written by Brody from chapter 1, which I thought was, that's what I was saying, that was really cool. And the thing I was talking about before, where I'm like, if you binge the game, is finding his article as effective. Whereas I legitimately click on the computer, I see Brody, I'm like, oh, I want to read this. Like, what's been happening with him? Like, it's been so long. What's happening? Like, it's legitimately been that long because it's been a fucking year since I played the first chapter of the game. So I'm like, it's been ages for them and it's been ages for me.
It's been that long.
Yeah. It was like November last year. The first one came out or whatever it was, late November or something. Yes, that was cool. And then you can also flick over to, I think maybe this changes depending on like how your choices were with Lila in the game, but like flick over and I was like Facebook stalking Lila's Facebook page to see what the hell she's been up to.
For me too. So,
but I hadn't been interacting with her throughout the whole game.
The last time I saw her was the same at the very first time.
Yeah. Whereas other people may have been doing all those phone calls, opportunities, and emails and stuff, and maybe that changes the thing you have here. Maybe there's an email opportunity or something. But one little tidbit on that I found out like a couple weeks ago is that originally they weren't going to have any of that stuff, and then after episode 1 released, and they heard people love the character of Lila so much, they made all that stuff start coming into the game. Like they saw that there was
a lot better. If they didn't have that, there wouldn't be any kind of like dynamic of you, I guess, try and missing what you came from. Like you'd just be running from, and you wouldn't really know Sean's experience of like what he's left behind other than his father. Yeah.
So it worked out well. That was like one of those times where the people was like, what are they doing with all these months in between episodes other than just developing the game? It's like that was one where they're like, yeah, we heard people loved her and was like, yeah, that's a good idea. So we decided to put her in future episodes and put her in episode 2, add in these moments, whatever. So that was cool. Then you can go explore around more areas of the camp, and you can bump into Arthur and Stanley Peterson, have a chat with them, have a cup of coffee, chillax, have a bit of a chat. I did that for a while. I was like, holy shit, I think they're like 50, 60-year-old couple by the sounds of it, but they didn't look that old to me.
I think one of them's a fair bit older than the other one.
Yeah. Well, he's like talking about
that's the impression I got anyway.
He's like, oh, my ex-wife.
Yeah, and kids come out here and stay. And
all this sort of stuff. I'm like, I don't know. I thought you looked like 30 from a distance, but I was like, Life is Strange character models. I guess that's where maybe it comes down to.
living in the desert is pretty harsh.
Yeah, well, hardcore hippie dudes out here. Then you can go over and meet Joanne. Joanne Marcus. Joan, or however, I don't know. Yeah. Whatever. Joanne.
They say Joanne, but
Joanne. It was spelled Joan. And you can help her create a sculpture with Daniel. So she's like done a little mini one, and Daniel wants to do it a certain way or whatever else, and you basically get up high and help organize the way everything is going to go and whatever else. I suppose you could purposely be a dick if you wanted to and do everything the complete opposite to the way Daniel wants it, just to piss him off, I guess. But the choice that ties into this, though, for this section of the game is that you did skip down for a second. Daniel managed to set up Joanne's sculpture as he wanted. He set it up with your help, or he set it up without your help. So he set it up with my help, but it wasn't exactly the way he wanted.
Yeah, that's the same with me. I did it the way she had already done it.
Yeah, I was like,
because I did it the way that he wanted it, and then there was a bit of dialogue that made me think, oh, maybe I can't do it this way, and rearranged it back the way it was.
Well, I kept looking at it. I'm like, is this not right? Like,
yeah, I would have thought I got like a little cutscene or something like that when it's completed.
I think I was struggling because I'm like the spider legs or whatever, and like the angling of everything. I'm like, this is. I'm not spending half an hour on this.
I thought it was meant to be like a kind of puzzle or something like that. When you got it in the correct kind of way, they go, oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah, like most games do. They'll just cut to a cutscene, So after you do that, you then, Daniel will send you on a treasure hunt. So you have to like go around to these couple different areas, and you find 2 bits of a puzzle, put it together, and then you go find this, I don't even remember what it is now, actually, a bottle cap or something, wasn't it? Something small,
I can't
consequential, really in the things. But yeah, the choice that relates to that is you did the treasure hunt and found the hidden souvenir, or you didn't finish the quest, or you refused to do it. I did it, and I found the souvenir. Because I am a good big brother,
and he is a shitty treasure hunt guy.
Well, I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, it's like, oh, over here. I'm like, dude, it's like 10 square meters of space around here.
That's it.
I'm going to find this fucking thing. Let's calm down for a second.
I was a bit disappointed you couldn't explore more of the little village kind of thing.
Yeah,
because it looked like you could go down the road, and as soon as you go there, it just turns you back around.
There's one area off the side where like it straight up invisible walls you. I'm like, it's a bit annoying, but then it also made me wonder. I'm like, this place seems like double the size, but I can't explore over there.
Yeah,
but they never talk about there being anyone else that lives here, so I'm like, I guess all that other stuff is like extra areas for when other people come stay, maybe, and that's why it doesn't matter in the long run. You know what I mean? Like they always talk about all these kids coming to visit and whatever the hell else. I'm like, is that where they're staying? Like they have like extra areas over here. I don't really know what's going on, but so then eventually hear word that Karen's showing up, finally coming back. She's been in town getting grocery shopping, I guess, which they make it sound like it's potentially been like a day or so more, like several day trip or something like that. I don't really know, like geographically, like here they are, here's the town, like how far away
Might
are
be a couple of hour drive or something like that.
Oh no, not a couple of hours. Let's not go too hardcore now. So the most interesting thing here, of course, the big surprise for Life is Strange fans is that when Karen rocks back up, there's a guy, and straight away I was like, looks similar. But not, where your brain's like doing that thing where it's like that. Yeah, that's
some guy you haven't seen for a couple of years.
Yeah, but you can't click onto it. You're like, I know that person. Who's that fucking guy? Who's that man? And then it's like, oh, it's David Madsen. I was like, David, from Life is Strange 1, ultra fucking military douche dad. I'm like, no. I'm like, but it does look like him. But I'm like, it can't be, because why would that character be living out here in the middle of nowhere? It's like literally the complete opposite of everything you know about him from that game. But I'm like, but it does sound and look like him, and there's no way they'd use the same name. And he's just like chucking baseballs and shit around with Daniel and stuff. I'm like, he's perfectly okay with all this sort of weird stuff that's going on. I was like, okay, this is quite interesting. So you have a bit of a short conversation with him before he disappears, and you end up talking with Karen. But straight away, as soon as all this happens, I'm like, when do I get to go back and investigate him more? Because
what a teaser would have been if that was all the interaction.
People have been fucking livid, I think. So yeah, luckily we do get back to him, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But yeah, when this happened, I was like, what? It's taken us 5 episodes, but we're finally getting. Well, of course, we had the thing in episode 1 where you
stop by the bay. Yeah,
we stop by the bay and you see it either there or destroyed, obviously, depending on your choices. But like, this is the first thing since then where it's like, I mean, this is bigger, really. Yeah. It's an actual character from the
That's it.
It's
just the biggest kind of tie-in interaction with something from that series, I guess.
And not something that feels super like forced or weird. It's like,
no,
okay,
it's not like Max comes along and saves your life with her time powers or something like that.
Yeah, like the chances of him, you know, obviously they're small, but they're not like so. Yeah. It doesn't feel so forced that it's like this is too ham-fisted to make it like connect to the first season somewhat. Yeah. There's no choices happen here at all. So you go back to your little buggy place or whatever with your mum, and you have a little chit chat around there. And then she talks about Karen. She talks that, let's go up into the canyon tonight and have a bit of time together as a family and all this stuff. Straight away, I'm like, there's bad news bears about to happen here somewhere, because, you know, like, let's go up into the canyon and have a little bit of family time. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Chekhov's, something like that.
Yeah, I was like, okay, family time.
I thought for sure she was going to demonstrate that she had some sort of powers or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can get into that. Pause on that for a second, put a pin, say that one, because whatever episode it was, 2, 3, it was like, the mum. Yeah, it was like episode 2 when they go to Captain Strange's place or whatever. Yeah, and we start getting like details about the mum's like, the mum's gonna have powers. Like, I was like, that was something I was
that's
like,
why she's in exile, and
it was something I was so certain on, and then no. And I think even though I was like, Daniel get powers eventually, and there's one moment in this episode where I thought, here we go, and I'll point it out when we get to it. But there was one moment where I'm like, here we go. All right, the mum didn't have powers, but Sean, Sean, I was like, here's Sean's about to get his powers, but no, that doesn't happen either. But anyway,
they last Jedi'd us.
What's the connection?
I don't know. The parents are inconsequential, I guess.
No, well, I mean, she helped them and she saved them, and she was a good mum. And then, so the 4 of them climb up the canyon at nighttime. And then Karen sits them all down and they have a bit of family time, and she explains that the events of Haven Point are catching up to us finally. So there's a bunch of cops apparently back at I guess being like, that church burnt down. That's a bit strange. Like, we should probably arrest the people that did these sorts of things. So she says that, you better leave in the morning because the cops and everyone else will eventually end up out here looking for you. So it's time to go. And Daniel and Sean are obviously disappointed, but at this stage, they're both, even Daniel's like understanding of he's like, I don't want to go, but like he's grown for a 10-year-old or whatever over this series. He's grown to a point now where he's like, that's that's the way it is. That's how it goes. And then you have this nice moment where the 3 of them light up. What's the official name? Because I just wrote in the notes candles, but they're like those Japanese candle things or whatever they're called.
I forget what they're called.
I don't know, but like, they got the boxes over them or whatever. Yeah, lantern things. They light 3 of those up, and then much like where the game starts here is once again quite pretty to see those go off into night sky and everything like that. And that was nice moment, I thought. So the following morning, Sean wakes up and talks with Karen for a bit, and the conversation you have is very like basically setting the tone for what their relationship ended up being, I guess, for you in the game, because you can either be very like abrasive and whatever with her, or you can be like good job, Karen. You came through in the end. Go team, which is, kind of how it was. But I think the other reason I really like this game, like Life is Strange 2 as a fool. And I don't know if like doing this show has kind of helped me enjoying the game more because it's like giving me a way to like out loud process thoughts and stuff.
Solidify your thoughts, yeah.
Yeah. But it's like, I remember when we talk about her and like the first time I met her in the game, I was like, you fucking bitch. Like, you leave me? How dare you? But then like by the time it gets around to this point, I'm like, oh, you're all right now, Karen.
Yeah, you can't understand. Like especially her explaining what happened and why she left and all that, you kind of understand that it was best for everyone, I guess.
Yeah, at the time.
She was saying how like she never really wanted a family. She was no good at it. She was unhappy and making everyone else unhappy. And
then you literally find signs in her thing of her being like a caretaker or whatever of kids and stuff of recent years. So like, okay, well, things changed there, didn't they? Didn't they, Karen? Karen, got your bloody Switch to bring as well?
That's
Karen?
It.
So then after having this whole conversation, she basically says, live by your own rules and make sure you do the right things and all these sorts of stuff, which I guess by the end of the game you could live by that or not. I mean, I don't know, but she's trying to give you good advice. Whether or not it's good, it doesn't really matter because like in real life, half the time your parents say shit to you doesn't mean it's actually it's not God's gospel. They could be very wrong and very right. So then she says go over and see David and get a police scanner from him, and they're going to take that on the trip so they know when to ignore cops and these sorts of things. And inside is, of course, for Life is Strange 1's fans, the most interesting part of the chapter for sure, because it's the most like potentially Easter eggy type way. And I say potentially because mine was great, but as soon as I got through this whole exploring David's caravan thing, I was straight away like, okay, well, what's it like for other people who have a different outcome for the game? And I looked it up and I was like, oh, okay. Because in mine, I loaded in, of course I loaded in my Life is Strange chapter to save. And my Life is Strange 1 choice at the end of that game was I fucking chucked that city out to sea and I kept the lovebirds going because, love over numbers, I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so that's what happened to me. So on his fridge, he has a picture of Chloe and Max.
Yep.
On his wall, several pictures, Chloe and Max and all these sorts of things. Very happy home or whatever. And then I found out that if you did the other choice, he has a picture of...
Which is one I did, yeah.
The fucking shit kid. What the fuck is his name? I forgot his name now.
Yeah.
Whatever. It was like the
Nathan, I think.
Nathan Prescott. That's it.
Yeah.
Nathan Prescott. He has a picture of Nathan Prescott on the fridge because he accuses him of being the one that's killed Chloe or any of these sorts of things or whatever. Like still blaming him or something along those lines. Yeah. And he's like holding a grudge. Yeah. So I'm like, holy shit. My version of David's place is like family and this is great. And I'm like, I'm literally walking around David's place being like, this is great. Like he's grown up. He's like, look at everything that's happened here. This is a beautiful place, history. And then I'm like, I read about the opposite, which is that he's just like living in the grudge and whatever else. I mean, I guess he's kind of moved on because he's moved out here no matter what. It doesn't change, of course, but he's still, I feel like obviously I feel like I got the better one of the.
So does he talk about Joyce at all?
Yes. He mostly talked about Chloe in mine though. Because of course she's alive.
Which is interesting to me because when I chose to save the town, I was under the impression that everybody in Arcadia Bay was going to die, but this shows that obviously that's not the case. Yeah, it's not as bad as what you think it is.
Well, I think it's realistic to say that if, like, of course you're letting the cyclone or whatever it was come through. Yeah. I feel like realistically, these things, horrible events happen in real life. Not everyone dies usually. There's usually a small percentage of survivors. So, I feel like it's fine. So what happens though after you get the police scanner? My favorite part of this whole thing, other than seeing the picture, which like seeing the picture of Chloe and Max on the fridge, I was like, screenshot, like, this is great. I mean, I don't know why I screenshot it because I'm like, by now someone else has got it on the internet before me, so it doesn't matter. For my own version though. So you go outside and you have this whole I have this whole conversation with David where he talks about how he used to be such an angry person, and he had like a bad relationship with his. He never really says her name. He doesn't really like Chloe, but he's obviously talking about his stepdaughter, and he basically explains his situation and how he had to grow as a person. And then I think one of the choices led me to being like, okay, like, well, are you like talking now and stuff? And he's like, yeah, we talk all the time now. Like Max and Chloe come visit here every now and then. Oh. So yeah. Of course, they're not there then because that would have been a bit too. But of course, he does mention that they do come stay there every now and then. And the coolest part, though, I thought, was that David's phone then rings at the end of this whole conversation where he's like giving you life advice or whatever. And he heads back inside of his caravan. However, you can stand right there at the window and hear the whole conversation happen. And I'm sure
from his side anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a phone call, but I'm interested to hear what you say yours was in a second because mine was Chloe rang him. That's who he's on the phone with. Now you can't hear Chloe, but of course, like subtitles on, you can hear. It's easy to pick up on everything that David's saying, and then you can piece it together in your head, of course. And it's very much sounded like Chloe is like, "Oh, we're over here in New York at the moment. Max is going to some like art gallery things." Like it very much paints a picture of Max and Chloe, New York. Max is putting some photographs in the phone gallery. He then says something about going down to Louisiana because it's really cool over there for something reason. And then it ends with him being like, oh, okay, love you, bye, and all this. Like a very like general conversation. Like there was nothing spectacular about the conversation. But of course, if you're a fan of the first game, it's like, he's speaking to Chloe. They've made up. They're family.
Not only that, there was kind of trepidation at the end if you chose that ending that you don't know what the future is going to hold for them, but it seems to turn out all right as well.
Yeah. And what was your phone call?
He talks to Joyce, calls him. They like talk for a little bit, catching up, I guess. She's remarried and had a baby and saying, "Did it come out of here because he can't wait to meet it?" Like they seem to be on good relationship with each other. But yeah, they've obviously moved apart after what happened. But yeah, like it wasn't groundbreaking, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I don't feel like mine was either, but it's just...
No, it did. I guess yours was more satisfying because I guess at the end of my ending of Life is Strange, like a lot of it, other than Max, nothing happened to any of them. Well, but there was because it practically gets rewound all the way back to the beginning and none of the events really happened.
Yeah. Whereas mine is...
yours is the aftermath of everything.
Yeah. So that was
before we move on, also something that it sets up is the conversation with David. He suggests, at least for me, I don't know if it's different for you, like to just surrender, to like go.
Oh no, he did that to me. He did that.
Yeah. Like it sets up, like I guess a thing to keep in your mind for the choice later on in the episode, like. Yeah, you'll do your time, but at the end of it, you're both free to live your lives and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's like that plus the police officer later, like kind of put something in my head that I hadn't really thought about this entire time, which is that I'm like, why haven't we just?
Yeah, that's it. And he
turned around at any point.
We can get to it, yeah.
And yeah, we'll get that a bit more, I think, when the cop brings it up because. It's interesting.
And they've got like really no credible evidence that he actually did any of this.
I mean, I'm sure they've got like security cameras for some of this shit. And
but like he like it. Oh, I don't know.
He was literally locked up and then escaped the hospital from an FBI agent. So there is that.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah.
He definitely stole a car to leave there.
Yeah.
They could probably find evidence he definitely burnt down the fucking church or was involved with the burning of the church, I guess. So no choices there in this whole thing, of course. You find you get the radio, blah, 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 blah. So then you can take your time as Sean saying goodbye to everyone around the whole place. And then him and Daniel end up jumping into the car and heading off to their destination, which is the border of Mexico, of course. The long run goal of the border of Mexico. All of the decisions here are all just not too exciting, but... No. You overall got closer to Karen or you kept your distance. I overall got closer to Karen. I think that all is heavily reliant on that conversation choice at the table before. You wrote a caring note to Karen or you wrote a conciliating note, a lukewarm one, or didn't write one right one at all. By the way, I like how they don't just write, you wrote a nasty note or something. They're like, yeah, let me pull out the fucking thesaurus over here. Yeah, I wrote a Karen note to Karen.
As did I, yeah.
That was one that a lot of people, I guess, could miss because you have to purposely walk back into the...
I guess goes to show you it pays off like when you're the kind of person that tries to interact with absolutely everything.
Well, every time it's like these episodes, it's like a million of these things I feel like you can miss. And I reckon if you check players' choices and if someone's like, I didn't like the game, but you check all this stuff and it's like, you didn't do this, just, it'll be like, well, you're just rushing through the fucking game. Like, what are you playing the game for? The purpose of the game me is to, the environmental storytelling is more like a lot of the game, like a heavy part of the game. For those moments where I'm like, Brody, brother. You said farewell to Arthur and Stanley, or you didn't. I said farewell to them. Did you say farewell to everyone? Let's just.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. You said farewell to Joanne, or whatever you want to call it, or you didn't. And then you hugged Karen before leaving, or you didn't. And I did hug Karen when I left.
Yeah, so did I.
I was like, come here, mum. I hated you at first. Wasn't going to talk to you. Wanted to smoke my cigarettes. Be peace. But now we can all be friends and we'll leave. So then Sean and Daniel hop into the car and they head out to hit the road where everyone waves them goodbye. I was like, okay.
Yep.
It's sad. Off we go. Along the road, Sean lets Daniel use his powers for a little bit to, I wrote like in quotation marks, hold the wheel because I mean, he's not really holding it, but he's controlling the car, I guess.
Very irresponsible.
Yeah. It was like, it's just a whole take on the, like letting the kid drive on the big roads. But of course, Daniel gets to do it with his powers because.
That's right. Yeah.
On the radio, when they park, they arrive at the border. And then when they're getting out of the car, they can hear on the radio about the rest of Karen and their mother. So Daniel starts freaking out a bit and Sean's like, it's fine. Like, she knows what she was doing, blah, 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 blah. Well, she told him, like, she's basically going to get arrested for them.
That's it, sacrifice herself.
Yeah, she's like, it's fine. I know what I'm doing. And you could even choose to be like, no, don't do that. I think I was just like, yeah. Yeah,
well, I was like, it's going to happen. Like,
it's going to happen. Just do it. Yeah, it's fine. It's funny how at that point, though, I was like, yeah, you get arrested, Mum. But I was still just like, I ain't giving up the fucking, I'm all in. So
my biggest thing about the whole choice behind not surrendering and all that is that for sure Daniel is going to be taken by the government
one way or another. Or?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I know. I'll get to it in a second because it is an interesting conversation to be like, I hadn't actually thought about it really for all these episodes, like properly thought about it. So yeah, they head towards the wall and Daniel struggles for a bit, but he eventually manages to tear it open or tear it aside. I don't really know like proper description for that. He tears a hole in it either way. And they're like, cool, there it is. And of course, I mean...
Yep, they fucking dilly-dally around and... Oh, that frustrated the absolute fuck out of me. I know,
because I'm sitting there as, you know, as someone who watches movies.
The whole time I was scanning the horizon for seeing fucking like, plumes of dust or something. Go wrong.
I'm like, cops about to show up, FBI agent. I'm just like, just fucking move. Just fucking... It's like, you know that thing where it's really more annoying when you're playing a game because you're like, give me the control back and I'll fucking move you. Compared to a TV show or movie where you're like, oh, you fucking idiots. What are you doing?
Like, I'm like, run back to the car. Or just
I'm like, why did he park so fucking far away from the gate as well? I'm like, Jesus Christ. So Daniel does get open, and by the time they've played tic-tac-toe on the fucking dirt and decided that they'll head back to the car, of course, a shot rings out from nowhere, and Daniel is then shot in the shoulder, and he falls to the ground wounded. Passed out straight away, I think, really.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, two gung-ho hicks who are coming out screaming about protecting their country have come down to stop Sean and Daniel. They think they're accusing Sean of leaving supplies or
something facilitating I guess coyotes or whatever.
Yeah, a bunch of bullshit anyway. And of course they're all down, and the male one is like, oh, I shot a kid, and then the female one's like, oh, you know, this whatever, and they're all on Sean's back and whatever the hell else is going on. Very much you can tell quickly that they are neither police, FBI, security. They're just some good old-fashioned Americans out here protecting our country.
Just patriots.
Yeah.
Patriots.
Fucking patriots. A police car finally shows up and recognizes it's Sean and chucks him in the police car, and off you go. Straight off to Straight off to jail with all of yous. So then Sean... yeah.
Before, it's... The Hicks, like, obviously, they're kind of like, where's this other officer? Because they obviously have some sort of, like... understanding with the law, and
Crooked
he's like,
cop.
what the fuck, these are kids, what are you doing, you're not doing this, and they arrest them too.
Yeah,
so.
it very much makes it sound like whoever the other cop was, they had a bit of a deal going on, and he was just
kind of turn a blind eye
for them out there doing their good old American justice. So they all get locked up, which plays into what's about to happen. And Sean wakes up in the prison cell. Detention? No, it's not detention cell. It's like a halfway.
I guess it's like a holding cell.
I guess, until they take them to the detention center, I guess. Sean awakes there, and he's straight away introduced to 12 people who are in his cell. By the way, I want to point out, I at least give props to the cops of being like, we'll put the Mexicans in the cell together with the white Americans in the cell over here to the side.
That's it.
We'll make sure they're all split up because we're sick of breaking up fights. So he's introduced to Carla and Diego Morales, and they get to talking to one another, and they explain how this isn't their first time attempting to cross the border, that they've actually been caught. And I really enjoyed this scene because it's very much like it's I think it's written very like kind of dumb on purpose, because it's written on dumb for all the people who are potentially playing this who don't understand why anyone tries to cross the border in the first place. So it's like very much like they're like, we have a baby. Over there, there's fucked up shit, warlords and whatever else happening. We don't want our baby to die, so we're simply trying to come to a safer place. That's literally what they explain, and I feel like
it's very heavy-handed in their way. There's like no
nuance in it at all. But
which is kind of in the whole series.
It's the game a lot.
It's very beat you over the head with it.
But it like, even this scene, it kind of rode that line of being fine with me, because I think I could just straight away tell that it was purposely being written that way to allow for people who have never even considered this, or people out there who are like, why would they do that anyway? That's silly. Just stay in your own country. Where I'm like, I'm very aware of.
I also think it also, I guess it's kind of, I guess, a pro-American tilt on it as well. Like, America's so much better. Where in the back of my mind is like, yeah, Mexico sucks, but if you've seen America, it's not that much better.
I mean, I have a similar thought all the time. I'm like, whenever I've watched any documentaries or anything like that, where I'm like, but is it? Like, but is it America better? Because I wouldn't want to go. I wouldn't, maybe I'll stay here, but, like, how about we don't go to either place?
Go to Canada. It's much
better.
To
Canada. Make the extra trip, go a bit, just shoot further. If you're gonna aim high, go to full distance. So they have this whole conversation, want their baby to be born in a safe place, and then in the cell across from you, the two pigs from before then start yelling, and the woman starts talking about how she's wanting the country to be safe for her kids too, and that's why she's stopping people like Carla and Diego, and I guess Sean as well, he's in the cell, and she puts it as she wants to put a stop to their quote-unquote parasite, was the word she used, which I thought was quite a good one to go there. Once again, this is the whole fight scene is heavy-handed, but at this point, they've done a lot of this in this series. I mean, the whole game, and this is the last like heavy-handed scene in the series as well. So I'll say that the whole game, I have no problem with the heavy-handed scenes like this one. Not really. Some of them, I think in the first and maybe second, I was a bit like, this is weird. But by the time I kind of understood what the series was going for, I think I stopped caring about how heavy-handed it was at times, I guess. And that's why I'm like okay with it now.
Yeah, I guess it sums up my feeling as a whole, that I enjoy the story and the message it's trying to sell, but I guess I wanted a bit more nuance to it, which obviously this isn't what it was going to be. No, I guess it's a case of me wanting more or expecting more from it.
I don't think we can expect a nuance. See, one of the things I really like about it, just being heavy-handed, and the reason I kind of enjoyed Life is Strange 2 as a whole, is that in 2019, just in this past year, so many developers I've seen in fucking interviews get asked about political elements in the games, and they're like, "Oh, our game isn't political at all," like because there's even like Call of Duty and shit. I'm like, war is political, full stop, and you're telling me that
that's right.
Call of Duty isn't political? What a stupid fucking dumb statement to say. So in a world where you got all these developers so scared of pissing off certain sectors of their fan base and losing sales, I was just very happy to see a game like Life is Strange 2 that's like,
to take
it's fucking political, like we're there's no if or but about it. So I think I enjoyed that about it, because there's just so much of that stuff that's been happening in 2019 that I'm like, oh, I roll harder at war not being political than I will the heavy-handedness of this prison scene, I think. So then Sean eventually is brought into an interrogation room by the officer who showed up to save him before. Not much really happens, and you sit there silent for a moment. He brings in coffee. He begins asking you questions, reading his rap sheet a bit, and Sean's like, well, I didn't mean to do it, and you don't understand fully, and blah, blah, blah.
One part about this too, which also influences your decision later, is he says, like, I basically, like,
why didn't you just change yourself?
If you confess, you'll be in for, like, I don't know, maybe 15 years, but Daniel will be looked after. You'll probably go live with your grandparents.
Yeah.
And, like, he won't go in through the system.
Yeah. And this, I think it was when he said this moment that I was like, I mean, I guess I didn't really consider that. I think that's because and I think the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I think the game actually did a much better job at just setting that first chapter off than I kind of gave it credit for, because I was straight away like, yes, he did have to run because there was a fucking racist cop, and then they killed the dad, and I'm like, well, you kind of put yourself in that headspace and be like, okay, well, try and pretend that I'm like in that headspace. Would I run? And I'm like, yes. So
another thing you got to think is that they're still kids.
They're kids, and they start running, and he's like, well, what do we do now? We keep running.
Yeah, we got the momentum. We keep going. They don't stop to really think about what's going on.
Yeah, what to do or what the right decision is and what they should have done. There's so many points that Sean could have just stopped anywhere along this story and been like, okay, I'll turn myself in, or like, can someone come see me? Like, so many things. But he just gets so... Because that's the thing, like a lot of this series is like Sean's supposed to be the adult, but you just keep forgetting that he is literally a teenage kid as well. And he just, starts this thing, like he starts learning how to be on the run. Suddenly he starts learning how to do all these things he never had to learn how to do. And I think he just loses like the person he was. Really. Daniel's the only one who, I mean, in my version, I think, because of course I get a good version of Daniel by the end. Daniel's really like, he's still a kid by the end of it. He's still holding on to a certain part of him. Whereas Sean, I feel like by the end of this game is the Sean,
he's like, my life's gone. We got to go. Yeah.
He's just completely
Daniel's the only thing that matters.
So it's like one of those weird things. I'm like, I haven't really thought about it, but
which I also want to give credit to, that they, during the whole thing, they didn't portray all the cops as evil. Like, this guy seems like a pretty decent...
Yeah, this guy seems good. This guy seems decent. Yeah. Straight away. I feel like they've done... For the
I guess I just wanted to say, because I've seen a lot of tweets like, oh, this is the game if you hate cops.
I don't think this is the game if you hate cops.
No, I don't agree.
This game isn't like...
I just wanted to comment on it, I guess.
I don't think the game is super... I don't even think the game's any more like... I don't think the game's like super anti-American, super anti-white people. No. Like all these things that people chuck out. It is simply, I think, some of it is heavy-handed, as we've been saying. Yeah. But the game is trying to represent a world in America that does exist for a lot of people now, which is that can you trust, like, Sean becomes very like untrustworthy of white dudes because
that's it. Yeah.
Like, because white dudes in power killed his dad, like, so
that's it. Yeah.
But the game never is like, oh, they're all bad. They've several times shown you like, this is good dude. Even in chapter 1, it's like, fucked up shit happens. Oh, here's Brody, like,
yeah, that's it.
It literally gives you all these supplies, pays for your hotel room and all these sorts of things. And, I feel like every chapter's always been like, kind of, here's the evil and here's the bad. And of course the evil stands out more, but it's always kind of never been like super like everyone's bad.
No, that's it.
So then after Sean sits in the room for a while and gets interrogated for 30 hot seconds, then Daniel bursts in and sends the cop flying against the wall for knocks him out or whatever else. And then the two brothers make their way out of the building. Along the way, you have a couple of choices, which I'll get to in a second, but they stop to get their stuff and then knock out or kill some police officers on the way out.
I get it. You stop to get your stuff, but you also fuck around for 5 minutes inspecting everything.
Yeah, inspecting everything. Got to find that last collectible. Then they jump back into the car and they head off towards the border. I guess the closest border exit.
Yeah, I drive back to the giant hole you created because everyone would be at the fucking border crossing.
My reason I was like kind of trying to make sense in my head is like I'm like, okay, like if maybe they got captured over here and they've been taken like way far away, and Sean's like, I have no idea where I am now, and he's literally just following signs, and that's where he ends up. Which like I guess like he doesn't know how to get back to where the hole was. So that's the only way I can make that make sense. Decisions were. You intervened to calm Diego in the cells, or you stayed out of the argument. I intervened because...
As did I.
I was like, I don't need my new friend getting punched by the stupid woman. You freed the Mexican couple, or you didn't open the couple cells. I didn't open the cells solely because I thought it would be worse for them if I helped them get out. You know what I mean?
No, I opened it.
Did you?
I was like, this is the chance. Get it. Because I figured they'll be preoccupied with getting me and him. They have a chance to get like a head start and... decent way away.
So they run? They're just like, oh, I'm out. Peace.
Well, they could steal a car as well. Like, well, I mean, the further they can get away, like realistically, how many illegal immigrants just disappear into the country? Like,
I don't know.
I just figure it's their chance. Like, because they stay there, they'll be going back to Mexico anyway.
Yeah. So what do they do when you let them out? Do they follow? Like, do they creep behind?
Oh, they just like they sheepishly kind of like exit the cell. Like you say, stay here while we go out and check everything, and like then you leave, and then they kind of like sheepishly exit the cell and like leave the building.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Daniel was concerned about hurting Officer Camper, I think is what it is, but I've wrote Camper. Or he didn't care. No, he didn't care.
He was camping that door.
Camping that
corner camping.
Yeah, corner camp that door. I had Daniel was concerned because my Daniel is...
That's what I, yeah.
He's a good boy.
Had a conscience.
Yeah. You asked Daniel to open the vigilante cells, or you didn't ask him to. I didn't ask him to.
No, me either.
And then all these options don't really matter after that point, but you asked Daniel to take revenge on the vigilantes, or he didn't hurt them. Daniel accepted to open the cell. He refused to, or he wasn't asked to. Of course, we didn't ask him. Daniel accepted to take...
No, I asked him to.
Oh, you asked him to, but he just didn't?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, he was just like... He was going... I said, oh, yeah, I fuck him up or something like that, but then he just like... He just refuses to do it.
You made your Daniel... You was too nice to do... Daniel...
Yeah, it was something like... Oh, that Sheila was just pissing me off the whole time. I was like, you're going to get it. And I think he goes, oh, no, they're already in the jail cell. They're no threat to us or something like that.
Yeah, you'd been too good to Daniel that the moment you wanted him to do something evil, he wouldn't do it for you.
Well, I figured if anyone's justified, fucking she's the one that's going to get it.
Yeah, I didn't.
Which I guess in a way, like, they're both shitheads, but it shows that the bloke kind of had sort of a conscience.
Oh, she was definitely the worst one.
Oh, yeah,
she was the mouthy one.
Yeah, that's it.
He was like, "Oh, you shot a kid, you fuck."
She was a Tasmanian.
Jeez, I mean, maybe. Daniel accepted to take revenge on them. He refused to take revenge, or didn't have to lash out at them. So for you, I guess he refused to take revenge.
Yeah.
You asked Daniel to kill the officers to escape the police station, or didn't ask him to hurt them. I didn't ask him to hurt them.
No, me either. I interacted with everything else that I could.
Literally, yeah. Daniel killed the officers when leaving the police station. He locked them out. He locked them in the closet, or was forced to intervene because they got too close. I locked them in the closet.
As did I, because I couldn't figure out any other way to do it.
I think there's no, I never could. But I was trying to remember. I did rewatch that scene, and someone else did something different. I think I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
Maybe something like blowing up the smoke extinguishers or something. I don't know. Daniel was okay to kill the officers. He was reluctant but forced to kill the officers. He refused to kill the officers, or he wasn't asked. Of course, wasn't asked.
Yeah, wasn't asked.
And then we head out to the final section of the game. So, as Sean and Daniel arrive at the border, they find many police blocking the exit, and FBI agent Flores is back now, of course. You may remember her from such episodes such as episode 3.
Was it 3?
Yeah, 3.
No.
Yeah. The hospital. In the games... No, 4.
No, it was 4.
It was right at start 4. Right at start 4.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
In the game's final moments, you're left with a choice of either surrendering or barging through everyone on your way to cross the border. Your relationship with Daniel will play heavily into whatever action you choose, though, at the end here, because there are 6 different endings with slightly different details in each of those, depending on choices you've made in the game as well. So it all comes down to, like, of course, picking either go for it or give up. But then, as we've learnt several times throughout this episode, Daniel can choose to either do what you say at this point or not do what you say. So that's how you get several different options. I gotta be honest, as much as like I came into this episode like thinking if it came down to a moment like this, I'd be like, free bird, like off I go. When it came up, when it came up with the options, it was one of those ones where like I kind of like was like.
Yeah, I deliberated on it for quite a while.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know what I want to do, actually. I felt like so confident up until this point, and now that I'm given the choice, I'm like, oh, fuck, why are there only 2 choices? This makes it so much harder. Give me a third one so I can, like, somewhere in the middle. Is there a middle option? Why is it so hard? Yeah. So then, of course, we ended up doing the same thing, which was going for it.
Yeah.
But our Daniel's at the last second was like, nah, not doing it.
He dives out of a moving car.
Yeah, dives out of a moving car and fucking breaks all the bones in his little 10-year-old body. But no, I mean, he's a superhero. I guess maybe he levitated himself a bit. I don't know. So he dives out, and then Sean makes it to the other side of the border, and he takes off into heads to what's it called? Portalobos, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, Portalobos.
Yeah. Is where he heads off, and then the game. In any of the different endings, because of course we both watch the different ones on YouTube, no matter how you do it, you then get this whole montage at the end and sort of thing that shows you like, what's that, 15, 20 years later, I guess, like somewhere around there.
I guess so, yeah.
So mine, it like starts with these photos, and I like it because the first photo is like 2019. I'm like, oh, it's like, you know,
it's dated, so it shows him growing up.
It's like, it's like a year or 2 later. Okay, right. So like he's growing up, but then like skips this like 2025. I'm like, oh, we're going for it. Like we're gonna do like how far are we gonna go here? What's gonna end up happening? And then we get so much further now. You see pictures of Daniel like with a car and this sort of stuff I had, and then right at the end it goes to like I guess he'd be like 16, 17, I guess, or something at this point.
Yeah, he's definitely in his teens.
Yeah. I guess it would make sense if the game kind of ends with him being Sean's age, like when the game started, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
And then he's received a letter. He's living with Daniel's living with his grandparents back. And there's also a photo of him and Chris, Captain Spirit, in a thing as well. And then, meeting up with his mum as well. So he's seeing everyone, he's having the whole time, but he does have like a police bracelet thing still on, so I guess.
Yeah, he's got like a house arrest kind of anklet on.
Yeah. But then I've seen some of the pictures of him out, obviously, so I'm like, I don't know, like, is this a weekend only thing? I don't know. Anyway, he gets a delivery little letter, opens it up, and inside he finds some pictures from Sean. There's like up the beach and whatever else. Different sorts of things. And then there's a selfie one, and this is like where there's a slight variation on this ending because my one had a picture of him and Cassidy in it. Did you have the Cassidy?
Same for me.
You got Cassidy as well. Yeah.
Apparently, there's also alternate one where he's there with Finn.
Finn, I guess if you chose to.
Not getting murdered like I did.
Yeah. I don't know who the hell is choosing the romantic option with Finn. The guy's a dick. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, he's a shithead.
Yeah, so I like that as well. So I think that's why I was like really happy with my ending because I'm like, Daniel's happy. You know, he's like growing up. He's back with friends. Like I'm sure it seems like he's had a good life or whatever. Like he's potentially going to have a good life. Like this bracelet ain't going to be on him forever. Sure, he'll be up.
No,
like,
that's it. Yeah, like in a few years' time, he'll be able to go visit Sean. It's not like they're separated for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, he can literally just go visit him and whatever.
That's it. Like it's not like they don't have a relationship anymore. They're obviously in
contact with one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Sean's not like a biggest FBI most wanted that cops would be like eyeing off every piece of mail he sends or anything like that. And then just having the Cassidy thing at the end.
Yeah.
Like tying it. Because I've seen other people be like, it's just Sean. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
It's not as good.
Sean by himself, yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not as exciting as whichever, I guess, romantic option you've picked is obviously a bit more exciting. Because also in this episode, in the back of the bus, I forgot to mention, you could find a letter.
Yeah, from Cassidy. Yeah,
from Cassidy as well. So it was like still like, oh, they're in communication.
Something like the family's broken up and stuff like that. It's hard to keep going.
But she was also like,
oh, you naked again soon. Or
hope to swim better naked again too.
Yeah.
But she was
women
also
only
like,
think about one thing. It's disgusting.
Yeah. She was also, I think she was also like, oh, but glad Finn's not here. Guy's a dick, hey? Yeah, something like that. I feel like it was like, as far as a game when you're literally going around on the run and causing so much havoc or whatever else, I'm like, I feel like the ending we got is
best possible outcome.
Literally the best possible outcome for this, as we're just saying. Like, he can literally go see Sean in a couple of years and all these other things. Now, the other endings that we didn't get, want to go over. I would say some of them they were cool to watch. Not what I'm happy to stick with my canonical playthrough ending, but I did enjoy watching some of them. Of course, like if you pick to go the bad boy route and you get Daniel, super evil Daniel gets out there and like fucking stops bullets and
there's one where you choose to go for it, and if you're like bad morality or something, Sean dies on the way through and he has to like kind of survive. Fend for himself. Yeah,
that was the most like Chronicle-esque, I guess, ending, because like Sean gets a piece of glass in his throat as they get across the border, so he dies in Mexico.
Oh, I thought it was a bullet.
Maybe it was. I don't know. But either way, he dies. Yeah. Either way, Sean dies in Mexico, I guess. So he kind of makes it there in his final moments. And then when they cut ahead in time, it's like Daniel's just like living by himself. It seems, a silent type. He's on this beach. People like come up, try and rob him and stuff, and then he just like uses all these powers on them.
Like in the lead up, it goes to like newspaper clippings, like bank
robberies and all sorts of
robbed
stuff.
And cops dead and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It feels the most chronically, I guess, or whatever one you want to say. There's another one where it's like, I guess it would be like neutral bad terminology, where they're both across there and they're Sean and...
Actually, no, so sorry. That one was if you choose to surrender, but Daniel goes, no, fuck it, we're going.
Yeah, where Daniel's...
And then he drives through, where this next one is where he chooses to go through.
They're on terms, So they both make it through, and Sean sets up a...
like a body shop.
Like his dad, I guess.
But they're criminals.
They're very much. They got like a whole fucking safe and everything, like very criminal looking safe that they're hiding shit in and money and whatever else. Looked like he had like thousands of dollars in that fucking safe.
That also has the bank robbery news.
Oh, did it as well? Okay, so they're just robbing banks and setting up the shop as well now. Very good. Very good, guys. Very good. Two people like come in and try to rob them, and then Daniel uses his
which is the same
models,
character models from the previous one too.
I guess they only made the same.
Yeah,
but there's more differences in the Sean one, because like there's like
it's the same. Like the guys that try to mug him, it's the same character models.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Sorry, not
the bad guys.
Daniel and Sean.
I was about to say, because they did a couple different variations of what like Daniel and Sean look like. Look like when they grow up. There's like even like the one where he goes to prison and it cuts to him like leaving or whatever. It's like I saw one version where it's like he's got an eye patch on. Then there was another version where he didn't have an eye patch on and like he had like a scruffy beard or something like that. I'm like, what is playing into these like slight differential choices between some of these endings, like real small choices along the game. Either way, I'll say that, because a lot of people judge these games on like, but does your choices really matter in the end? I would say that like finishing the season, getting to an end, I'll be like, felt like it did, right? The choices did matter, like the six different endings.
If all the types of like Telltale or games of this style, this is the one where I feel like my choices mattered the most.
Yeah, because it not only affected where Sean ended up, the character you play as, but most importantly affected Daniel and like him and what happened and everything else. So one final thing before we wrap up though is, do you think that we will get a Life is Strange 3 at all?
Sorry, just before we go, I just want to comment on one of the other endings that some people might perceive as good, is where you surrender and you get arrested and it like Daniel grows up alone again, but you get out of jail and meet up again.
Oh yeah, 15 years later, whatever, you get up of jail.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he gets out of jail and he's like he's buff and like bearded and stuff, but there's a scene like you can either meet later or not.
It's the one where he goes to the camp. The camp and that was...
Yeah. They camp back where he's first learns to use his powers by the lake, and I guess you could conceive it as it being a good ending is that like they're together in America.
I don't think it's a good ending though because Sean's fucked up.
He looks like an absolute damaged shell.
He starts crying and then Daniel's like holding him and everything. So he's been like messed up in that prison. So that's not a good ending. That's not a good ending.
No. I guess some people could just kind of perceive it that way as like they can be free together in America, I guess, like if you consider being in America a good thing. But another thing I read that people are saying like, you're free, but you're kind of like still a convicted felon and everything's limited to you as
like you'd struggle to get a job and like all these other things. So it's probably just better if he's I mean,
Mexico.
how hard is it not to just come back into America? I don't know.
That's it, yeah.
Like, is there some kind of law, like 25 years later, he'll lapse? I don't know. Like, did they ever stop being after him? Vin Diesel comes in and out all the time. I'm sure he's a wanted criminal. I mean, Dominic, whatever. I don't know, same character.
Confirmed. It's part of the Fast and Furious.
So do you reckon we'll get a Life is Strange 3? The only reason I'm like 50-50 on it or like less is solely because I don't think this season obviously did as well sales-wise as they would have hoped because the first one was like this sort of like big game, pop culture game phenomena where everyone like loved, had the wallpapers of, Chloe and Max and they're like so much shipping and all this sort of stuff that kind of helped build this huge fandom around it. This game did not have that. It did not take off as much. I'm hoping a lot more sites start covering it potentially with like best of year stuff because I think it deserves attention. Obviously, I'm a big fan of it.
Did it win any awards at the Game Awards?
No, it was only nominated for best games for impact or whatever the category is. Okay, right. So it didn't win nothing. So do you reckon we're going to get a 3? And if we do get a 3, are they just going to? I really don't want to see them backpedal and be like, we'll just do a story that's very similar to 1 to appease fans. I'm like,
well, we'll go Chloe and Max season 2.
Yeah, something like that. Which I'll be like, okay, I don't want it.
I hope so. Like, I guess as much as I guess wasn't as hot on this season as you are, and especially throughout. Wrapping it up, I was definitely satisfied with it. Kind of like made me a better opinion on it. But if they did do another one, I'd definitely be into it and would play it just to see what they would do. But I guess, like you said, commercially, it hasn't done as well. I would put it on maybe like a 30% chance we do. But I wouldn't be surprised if it got cancelled.
My only one like hope that Don't Nod as a developer doesn't really care too much about appeasing like sticking to norms is their upcoming game Tell Me Why, which is going to be an Xbox exclusive, I believe, because Xbox put money into it. 3-episodic thing is starring a transgender character and like so they're very much like. Because like you only need to look in comments where people are like, I ain't playing this garbage, all this sort of thing. So it very much seems like they're just like, we're exploring characters and stories that no one else will. So, and if they're going to continue that, I guess that's my like one hope, knowing that that's one of their upcoming games next year. That I'm like, okay, well, they don't seem to care. I guess I
guess it also depends on Square Enix as well, because I guess they own the IP to it.
Yeah,
whether they. Like, even if Don't Nod goes to him and goes, we want to bankroll this or something, but I guess it's whether they want to go ahead with it, but it's hard to say, I guess.
Yeah.
Unless they, like, go ahead and do something on their own, not connected to it.
I don't know. Well, it depends how they've got the deal signed and, like, what the go is there. Now, my last final point on this is because I doubt we'll get another one before, like, 2021, 2022 or something like that, I guess. Easily. But I would still be down. If I plan out in the future, because of course we talked about this sort of thing in the first couple episodes of this. If they want to do a 3rd season, brand new story, brand new characters, all this sort of thing, and then the 4th season is the Justice League team up or something like that, I'd be down to it because I feel like if you introduce a bunch of really interesting characters and actually end up doing you could do a Justice League or like a whatever team up that is not written like a typical superhero team up. You know what I mean? Like there would be a way to bring together all these superpower characters and finally like kind of tackle the question of like, okay, well, why are we all getting powers? Like should, like what's up? What caused yours? Oh, this happened. Like, I saw my fucking this person get shot. I saw my dad die.
Yeah.
Like, what's affecting all this? Something like, I feel like there is a way to dive into that, but the only way I don't want them to do it if they're going to go like too superhero. I only want them to do it if it's going to stay human element story, not.
I don't think they'd be able to do it in a satisfactory way, I find. Like, I think their strength is definitely personal stories, and that is just like a personal story with a twist, where I don't think it really lends itself to a kind of like overall grand arcing lore of the space powers or something like that. Like, yeah. I don't. Maybe one episode is like a support group, or they come together somehow. But I don't know if they could successfully explore like the reasoning why.
Yeah.
In a satisfactory way, at least how I feel. They could prove me wrong easily, but yeah, that's currently how I feel.
And then the one other thing that I wouldn't be surprised if we see, solely because so many people being disappointed, no Max, Chloe, major tie-ins and all this stuff. Of course, people want that. I actually wouldn't be surprised if, before we see a Life is Strange 3 announced or anything like that, if they do some sort of one-shot Captain Spirit thing with them.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be very good, like story-wise. I think it would just be very much like, I mean, not to say I wouldn't play it. I'd play it, obviously. But it would just be a very much shut some people up. Here's like a fan services type thing. And they could sell it for $10 and they'd make a bunch of money on it. So,
easily, yeah.
Like Captain Spirit they gave out for $3, they could sell that one and very happily take home the money. So, I just would put that on the tables as well, possibly to fill up the bank a bit more, then go make number 3. Just bankroll that one a bit. Any last thoughts on the series as well?
Just basically what I've been saying throughout the whole thing. Like, I definitely, as a whole, I enjoyed it, and it's like improved my opinion of it based on the final. But I guess it's a hard sell for people, especially people that aren't kind of open to broaching those kind of subjects. I guess. I mean, take that for what you will. That's personal choice, I guess. But yeah, just go into it knowing it's very heavy-handed, which I guess in a way they did it to, I guess, open the eyes of people who are kind of blinded to it as well.
Yeah, if they made it too, if they didn't do it that way, I feel like people would have just missed the point.
It would be lost.
Yeah. So maybe the next one, they can be a little bit more...
Possibly they get a bit more nuance
with what like they're trying to tackle. Because even like the first season, it's very heavy-handed with the elements of handling in that one as well, it's not exactly nuanced with its tackling of depression or anything like that, I would say. So I think I would rank this above the first one for me. Like, when I think the writing in this game's a lot better, even if it is heavy-handed at times. I think when it came down to like general like character interactions and stuff like that, I thought the writing was generally better. I thought the performances were good. You just don't have that standout Chloe character where you can look to and be like, that was amazing, like character and performance and everything. You don't have that, but I'd say that most of the time the performances were good. And I guess the one like criticism people will chuck out for that is like Daniel's like annoying as a character and whatever else, but I'm always just going to be, my defense for that until the end of days will be that he's a 10-year-old kid.
Did you know a 10-year-old kid that's not annoying?
Yeah, I'm like, any 10-year-old kid's just going to be fucking annoying. He was a perfectly annoying amount that he needed to be for a 10-year-old kid that's literally on the road, lost his father, like doesn't know what's going on. So I have no problems with that. And yeah, the game visually, apart from the character models at times, was a lot prettier than the first one, of course. And I think the one big plus for this season, seeing it through to the end, and I talked about this in the first episode, but definitely want to bring it up again now because it's easy to forget about these things, is that this is, unlike Telltale stuff back in the day, this improved on a lot of elements that maybe you've kind of forgotten because we're at episode 5 now, but it's like playing the first one, like talking to people while walking and all these other, like it was just running so much better than the first one. Like it was adding all these little interaction things that weren't in the first one. Like they really built upon it. It wasn't just like, oh, let's do the same sort of thing and whatever, new story, go for it. It seemed like they just improved on so many things. And even like seeing how everything of Captain Spirit wrapped up in the end, I'm like, I enjoy the big picture of like, that was a little mini story that stands on its own, that is super interesting, and he has a interesting story. Chris as a character is interesting. I like that. Tying him in episode 2, and then by the end of this, having him come back and picturing in my mind like Chris and Daniel playing as kids and him trying to keep a secret about his powers and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, I like how that all.
Yeah.
So this entire Life is Strange 2 experiment for me is a plus, big plus. I think
it's a plus, yeah.
I think it's very, very good. That'll do it. All right, so that is the last episode of Beyond the Strange. Of course, thank you for watching, listening, whatever it's been. It's been a year-long journey, over a year, actually, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever it's been.
It's been an ordeal.
It's been an ordeal for...
Very timely.
Yeah, for five episodes or 6, I think. No, hold on. Did we do...
No, 5.
Right.
Did we do a Captain Spirit?
I can't remember. No, it's either 5 or 6. Either way. I honestly cannot remember. It's been so long, they're spread out. Oh my God. You can follow me on Twitter at Vivaladil, Vivaladil. You can follow Nick on Twitter because he's currently active at Lord N Pryor.
Get in while it's hot.
Yeah, before he spits it and it's like, fuck this shit, going away again. You can, of course, follow the Explosion Network on Twitter at ExplosionPod, and then head on over to explosionnetwork.com where you can find more great things, including possibly if I can push Life is Strange 2 into some award stuff next week after this post. Just saying, just teasing that one out there. We'll see how we go. There you. I'll do it. Bye.
Yep.